Hi guys, it's Claire Akin from the Fiddle Fig Plant Resource Center, and thanks for joining me today. Today I want to talk about a question that we actually get quite a bit, and I think it's a really interesting question, and that is, can you grow a fiddle leaf fig or a ficus lyrata from seeds? And so you may think that the answer to that question is simple, a simple yes, technically you can, but that's really not all there is to it. So to have a seed, let me just break it down in the biology of plants for you. So you need to get a seed, you need the plant to be pollinated. And what you need there is a fruit and a flower and a pollinator of some sort, usually an insect. And that's where the problem comes in for fiddle leaf figs. And so it's interesting that they only occur two places in the wild. So they occur in Western Africa natively and then also in Australia. But the reason that they're hard to grow and that they don't really grow all over the world in the wild is because they need to be pollinated by this certain type of wasp that only exists in Australia and Western Africa. So in the absence of this pollinator, this wasp, they will not be pollinated and they will not have seeds. And so the other thing that makes this tough is you have to get seeds by having a flower and a fruit, which doesn't happen in houseplant conditions. So I have seen fiddle leaf figs that actually have fruit and some that have flowers, but it's very rare and usually it happens outdoors. So even if you could get your fiddle leaf fig to flower and to have fruit, you would need that special wasp to come in and pollinate it, and that's not going to happen unless you're in Africa or Australia. And so that's why you don't see fiddle leaf figs out there on the internet, and that's why it's so hard to find them. It's almost impossible to find them. And so I really caution you from trying to buy them online, because we know that the majority of the fiddle leaf fig seeds that are out there online are actually fake. They're grass seeds and you'll waste your money and be very frustrated. In the instance that you were able to find a real ficus lyrata seed, they're actually really hard to germinate. And so I spoke with one of the top growers of fiddle leaf figs in this country, and they grow probably 70 to 80% of the plants out there in the United States. And he told me that he has seen ficus lyrata germinated from seeds, but it actually can take up to 3 months for the seed itself to germinate. And you have a very high failure rate where your seed actually doesn't germinate. You waste 3 months waiting for it to happen, and it doesn't happen. If you were to get a seed and germinate it and spend the 3 months and it grew into a seedling, those seedlings are actually very hard to grow. They're very susceptible to problems, and they have a low success rate of growing into a full plant. And so for those reasons, not only is it impossible to find the seeds, but there's fake seeds out there, there's erratic germination, and it takes up to 3 months to get your seed to germinate, and then the seedlings are really hard to grow. That's why it's just not the best method for a new plant. What makes fiddle leaf figs, something that we don't see grown from seeds is that they're so easy to propagate. So all you have to do is take a cutting from an existing plant and propagate it, which is so easy to do, and then you have a brand new plant. And so it's easy, it's cheap, it's readily available. And so I have a whole video on how to propagate fiddle leaf figs if you want to check that out. That's a great resource of everything that you need to know for propagation. And if you do, say you have 4 cuttings, usually we see about a 75% success ratio. And then as far as rooting the cuttings go, and then once you plant them, usually we see about 60 to 70% success rate. So I say take 4 cuttings, root them all, plant them all, and you probably 100% chance will have a new healthy plant. And so that's the best option. What's interesting is growers in this country don't use propagation as far as stem cutting and rooting the stems for creating the fiddle leaf fig species in this country. So in this country, 90% of the commercial fiddle leaf figs available are grown from tissue cultures. And this is a laboratory process where you take a cutting of a plant and you actually multiply it into thousands of plants that are grown in sterile conditions in a laboratory until they have roots, and then they're planted in the plants. And so this micro cutting or tissue culturing is the way that commercial plants are created. The reason for that is it allows them to create thousands of plants in just a few weeks. They have the exact genetic match, and so they're exactly genetically uniform, and they're all grown in sterile conditions, so they know that there's not any diseases or anything like that. So I hope this video was helpful. If you want to learn more, ask a question below, and you can check out some of the related videos below. Thanks for watching.